Elizabeth, there is a microphone there.
Oh.
There's one on the other side. You may have to turn them on. Just there's this on the side.
What's in here? Just like flashing.
I said it.
Oh, okay. I'm calling this meeting to order at 5:02 p.m. This is the Mount Escutney School District retreat. Welcome, everybody. Woohoo. Do I need to use the microphone?
I think it's helpful.
Okay. All right.
I can hear you.
You can hear me
Okay.
without?
I got rabbit ears.
Okay, I'm gonna turn it on. Excellent. Hey, good looking. All right,
But the question would be, can they hear you?
yes, can you all, Pietro, can you hear me without the microphone? Okay,
Yes.
excellent. Okay. So we are in the public portion of this meeting, and I would like to make a couple of changes and additions to the agenda. Let's see. First of all, additions. I'm going to add the approval of the tax anticipation note and also SAP, a discussion and possible approval of SAP. And those will be at the top of the discussion and items for action. Then we're going to, under items for discussion and items for action, this will become more clear during our discussion of Robert's Rules of Order and the open meeting law, which Pietro has joined us for. But we are going to start taking more votes on things and incrementally approving as we go along. And therefore, it doesn't make any sense to hold all of the votes till the end because we'll be discussing and voting. So that will be the way that I think we should, I'll take a vote on whether we should structure our meetings that way henceforth. All those in favor of structuring our meetings with discussion followed by vote and so forth, please, since we're all here, indicate by saying aye.
Can we have some discussion on that, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I'd be more open to voting on it after we get the explanation.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. Yep.
Because I really don't know what I'm voting on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
That is what you meant. We would discuss it, and then we would vote, as opposed to waiting till the end after we've already discussed it and then vote. That's what you're saying, correct?
Well, I withdraw my motion to vote on it. But all those in favor of structuring the meeting this way for tonight with discussion, vote, instead of a discussion section and then an items for action section. Or I'll take a motion to
So moved.
do that.
Second.
Okay, now we can have a discussion about it. Is there anybody who is opposed to structuring tonight's meeting that way?
So just to be clear, we're not actually adding additional votes to this meeting. We're just changing where the votes occur.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
And I think it would be a great learning experience to start it now, so we have a better idea of it once we actually discuss.
Yep.
Robert's Rules.
Yep.
So I think that's a wonderful idea.
Okay. All those in favor of structuring the meeting this way tonight, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? As we will see later, for these smaller, the motion has passed. As we'll see later, and forgive me for interrupting myself throughout the meeting. But as we'll see later, we don't need to necessarily have all of the motions, or we don't have to have the seconds recorded. Okay. So with all that being said, those are the additions and changes to the agenda. Is there anybody else who has an addition or change to the agenda? Okay, seeing none. We are next going to go to the public portion of the meeting with public comment and announcements. Okay. I would like to congratulate all the many graduates from elementary, middle, and high school in our district, because this is a big season for hopefulness and stepping up. So we have had the Windsor High School graduation already, and it seems like a month ago, but it we have all kinds of related events going on this week. It's a really busy week. And the last day of school is on Wednesday. Woohoo!
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
We're there.
All right. Let's see.
That's my face.
There's one here and there's one there.
Take a good seat. I won't put my hand on there. I was like this, but I don't want to get the wrong idea from him.
I will take a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion about the minutes from our last meeting?
I was just mentioning to Jennifer that the graduation dates were a little mixed up, but
Yeah.
it's an easy correction. And the superintendent's report.
They changed once our waiver was granted.
Okay.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yes, I said they changed when the waiver was granted.
Okay, are there any other discussions or comments about the minutes from our last meeting? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from our last meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? And the minutes have passed unanimously. Okay. Colleen and Kate, we are doing the agenda differently tonight. We're gonna go discussion, vote, instead of discussions and then items for action. Okay? Next is,
I did that.
aw. Hi, baby.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
I did have something for the announcement.
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to say that I had an opportunity to visit the Career Technical Center in Hartford, and the director took me around to all of the classes. That place is phenomenal. It really was. And I had an opportunity to see some of our students. It's great. So it's really good to know that so many of our students are participating in those programs. Great place.
Thank you.
Mm.
Let's see. Okay.
Tax anticipation note,
All right.
you ready?
Yes.
So this is the tax anticipation note. You all need to sign it in 5 different places, and we need to make a motion and vote on it. This is the what? Tax anticipation note.
Oh, good, okay.
In that order, signing it and then voting?
I think you should vote and then sign.
Yes.
Are you able to tell us more about the tax anticipation note so we know what we're voting on?
It's really, no, actually not. I can't. Ed just handed it to me, so I think it has to do with,
Well, this is something we do every year.
you do it every year.
It's-
Promissory note based on the amount that.
Right. Yeah.
Because we don't,
Promissory
we
note
collect it,
based on what we collect.
semi-annually, so.
So basically, we're saying we will honor our debts because taxes are coming in.
I just wanted to make sure that for members of the public who are present,
Hmm.
we had an explanation of what we're voting on.
Yeah.
And not just vote on it. That's all.
Okay.
I'll take a motion to, oh, yes.
Well, in my previous history, we don't collect taxes until, August, and there's a lapse in when the money comes in, and so this is to bridge the gap, so
Yes.
that
Yep.
you guys can still pay people and stuff until they actually start collecting the tax revenue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will take a motion to approve the tax anticipation note.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second?
Thank you. And, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye. Okay, I'll pass it around. Thank you.
All those not in favor,
So how do you want to do that? Because I don't like it.
Basically, you do the best you can
Okay.
You can use your other hand,
after
Rebecca, if you need to.
5 arm surgeries.
Left
Kind
hand
of-
writing. Yep. Take your time.
If you even want to use your other hand, you're welcome to.
Just gonna try it.
she has a gardening injury. Okay,
How many places?
5, wherever those stickies are, yeah.
let's see. Next is that, wait a minute, hold on. 6. Okay. Okay, next is the SAP.
Substance abuse prevention. So Kate's gonna maybe speak to this one.
Sure. So we had hired a health teacher, and that health teacher reneged. And then I thought we would take this opportunity because when we did have a full-time health teacher, it's a credit requirement, but currently people who are sophomores and juniors have met that requirement because we had a health teacher at that time. So for next year, we need 11 seniors to get that health requirement, similar to what we had this year, and we did that in tandem with Andy Tufts. So he put out a survey to those 11 students, what they wanted to learn in health, health related. And he put on that health class for him and we stipend him. He is willing to have that conversation about how to do that next year. The health job is posted again and there's no certified applicants as of right now. So I would like to take this opportunity and use that money in our budget to hire a substance abuse prevention counselor who would take on the role of responding. So when we find someone under substance abuse, which is the majority of our suspensions, we would have the kind of the education piece in place. We've talked to some other schools that use them and they go through an agency to hire them, so we wouldn't have to hire one full-time. It would be part-time, shared with at least one other school. And they operate under the philosophy of that person, which a lot of outside agencies don't do. So I was thrilled to hear this. This person is immersed in your school. So they do lunch duties, they do everything that you expect your contracted teachers to do. that would be a lot less expensive than a health teacher and would also allow us to put into place a structure to have a planning room, which would have a trained person there who would be available to have the structures for in-school suspension, which we currently don't have, would have available to have a person to run detentions, which we currently don't have. So we could put back into place, in addition to the restorative pieces, the tiered kind of discipline pieces. And that would give us a year to collect more data and see if having those two things, the substance abuse prevention and the tiered systems of support with a planning room, bring down the escalated behaviors.
And it is a match. We've been working with Mount Escutney, and they're going to fund half of the position for us. So it would, on our end, it'll be 20,000, and they will put 20,000 towards it for next year. So it's not, it is an additional position that we didn't talk about, so we wanted it to bring that forward. And to be honest, the funds will probably come out of will come out of contracted services line, so it won't come out of the salary line, but it will be more so than you anticipated in contracted services.
So,
Wait.
Go ahead.
I'll take a motion to approve the substance abuse partnership or prevention. And then we can discuss it.
okay, thank you, learning opportunity.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
So, just sort of clarify, they're not gonna hire a health teacher.
I'm gonna keep it posted. I don't think we're gonna find one, and rather than having that money sit there when we have great need, particularly around substance abuse. I mean, I called over to your counterparts today and asked for their numbers, and they said roughly 1 billion. When we have these needs.
Well, I just sort of point out that Hartford High School no longer has any credit requirements by vote. So that credit requirement that used to be in place for health credit is no longer in place.
Right.
Yeah, so.
No, I called over to ask about their vaping numbers, and that's what they said.
Oh,
They
yeah.
said 1 million.
They said roughly 1 million.
No, but it's, yeah, Hartford,
Yeah,
it's,
It's everywhere.
I mean, it's we
yeah,
have to
it's-
address it, and we have this opportunity, like when the health person pulled out, and then I kind of went into like a little panic, like how can we function again without a health teacher, but then when you break down the numbers, this seems to me to make more sense.
it's closer to like 350.
Okay.
Which seems like a million when you're dealing with it, yeah, but you've got about, that's how many suspensions for that one thing in a single building.
And if you're addicted,
Yeah.
suspension does not solve the problem. So,
Yeah, that's, so I applaud your thinking outside the box.
Thank you.
I'm in full support of this. It is a need. It's a need for something that I didn't think even it existed, to be honest, but I think that need is really going to be fulfilled.
I have a couple of questions. One is, since Mount Escutney is partnering here, what does that mean? I mean, is the position
So it's
yours or
ours,
is it?
they've asked to join the interview process.
They've also supported us in the past with professional development for the person,
Mm-hmm.
mentoring for the
Mentoring for
person.
the person, monthly meetings for the person, resources for the person.
So they will be involved.
They'll be involved.
yeah, we meet with them monthly. We have a standing meeting with,
Melanie,
Okay.
Alice.
Yeah, that's the, she's the new person who has, Jill's position.
yes.
Yes.
At this point, okay. So my other question is the health piece, because I think health education, I appreciate that you are keeping that position open, because I think that's also a really important
Mhm.
position. And, I didn't know that Hartford eliminated that credit.
No, Windsor has. Windsor High School has. We did. The school board did.
Oh,
We are no longer using credits to decide graduate, as a graduation requirement.
okay, but I thought you mentioned.
Hartford has not.
Okay, But, so I think that that position is important, and I think that it's still important to try and.
So Bellows Falls just hired a principal, we've been in contact and they don't have a health teacher. They're hard to find.
I wonder if maybe if you're experimenting with this, considering some sort of a curriculum that would maybe incorporate both the substance abuse piece and the health piece. I don't know.
We have that too, from Nanoscutney.
Yeah, because if you,
Right, because we're also putting preventive, based on the research, we're also putting preventative lessons in 3rd and 8th grade.
Any other questions or comments?
And this is contracted but not
So it's a contracted services, our contracted services are something like the bus company.
Yeah.
Or,
They bill us.
some counselors or the kitchen.
Yeah.
But it was important to me, and I mean, Christine came and helped phase it up when they said we expect them. There's a lot of times we work in a contracted service and they say, I don't work for you, I don't do lunch duty, right? And we need like an all hands on deck approach. And they were quick to point that out in the meetings, if that's what we believe in.
So it won't even get posted on School Spring, it'll just
We
be,
will not.
It will not, but the health position will stay posted.
Would this SAP position be performing a function that, looking to, a year or two down the road, that function would be rolled into what a health teacher would do? Or is this something we're looking to kind of run in tandem?
I don't know, because at the same time, we're moving forward with a student-driven schedule.
Okay.
And like everything else, what a student needs from a health class varies from student to student, what they want, what they need.
Sure.
Ideally, and this is like living on the moon, we would do so good at the preventative measure that we would do an SAP out of a job, right? Or out of a full-time job. But for right now, we need one.
Sure.
And we need both health and SAP.
Okay, got it.
I need to just say something about this, and that is that Davis's name is wrong.
Yeah, that's why I didn't sign it yet. I was gonna bring that up and there was a pause.
Just make a phone call, see if we can, we'll just call it and see if we can edit it, yeah.
There you go.
I can also just cross it out and rewrite my name if I need it. It's fine.
Be too bad to force Rebecca to resign.
I know, I know.
Yeah,
Christine, I really need to do this.
I hope
Keep
not.
going.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be fine. Let me just-
Yeah, thanks, Lord.
Okay, all those in favor of approving the $20,000 sum for the substance abuse prevention contractor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? And the matter has been approved unanimously. All right. Next, we have a quick vote on the Windsor Investment Corporation, WIC, as it's otherwise known, liaison. Are there any board members from Windsor who would be willing to be the WIC representative?
I'd be willing to do. Can you just remind me what the time commitment is? I know it's 7:30 on a Thursday morning once a month. Is that correct? Okay. And do you have any idea what the duration of those meetings typically are?
No idea.
Okay.
I think about an hour.
I would assume about an hour, yes. A bit of an odd time, but I think I can.
And what was WIC again? Windsor Investment Corporation.
Is it investment or improvement?
I'm sorry, improvement. It is.
That a position left by Amy's vacancy.
Davis, you're willing to do it?
Yeah.
It should be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve Davis McGraw as our WIC representative.
So moved. Second.
Is it Dennis?
Dennis McGraw can make it.
It'll require some equipment. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. See how much easier this is? Okay, next is the clerk of the board. I put advertisement. What's that?
Sorry. I was supposed to join. Dave, pointed out that for a better feeling, due to WIC having a prior, definition around the country, that they would change that name to distinctly Windsor, and then I Googled it and he's correct.
I'm sorry?
Dave pointed out that, Dave wants this to be called distinctly Windsor.
Distinctly Windsor,
Windsor
okay.
Electric Corporation.
Okay, then I withdraw my, or you have to withdraw your motion.
I withdraw my motion.
All those in favor of Nancy withdrawing her motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion has been unanimously withdrawn. All those in favor of Davis McGraw representing our board on the distinctly Windsor board. Let's see, distinctly.
Do we need a new
Oh,
motion
I'm sorry,
for that?
yes, I'm sorry, I need a new motion.
I move that. Davis McGraw would be on distinctly Windsor board,
Okay,
Formerly known as.
or going to the meetings, our representative.
All those in favor of having Davis McGraw represent us at distinctly Windsor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, that motion has been passed unanimously. Thank you, Davis, for offering to do that. And thank you both for clarifying the name of the, thank you, Dave Taft, for clarifying the name. I really was not aware of that at all. And next we have the clerk of the board position, or the clerk of the district position. We already have a clerk of the board,
Let's Davis.
but we need a clerk of the district, who traditionally is also, and it even says this in the statute, should also be the town clerk, but we have agreed that we're going to, we opened the position to the public. I advertised it in both towns, and I got one response only, and that was from Larry Dower.
Thank
And
you.
so-
That should be it. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I'll take a motion first to approve Larry as our clerk of the district.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Larry, are you aware of what is involved in that position?
Among other things, my understanding is I would be responsible for making sure that for town meeting and other things that things are posted in a timely manner at the spots where they should be posted. And I will be responsible for making sure and coordinating with the town clerk and the justice of the peace, the counting of the votes, and then securing those votes for a time specified by statute in a secure area.
Yes, thank you.
Are you, would he also be responsible for meeting, just plain ordinary board meetings posted?
No.
Good.
It's really all related to
The vote.
town meeting and elections.
Good,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll be working closely with Riley White over in the town. To make
There's
sure.
also a portion of it that has to do with you taking minutes during our annual,
Town meeting,
our annual, whatever you call it, meeting,
informational meeting.
informational
The
meeting.
budget meeting?
That's also part of it.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of Larry Dower serving as our clerk of the district, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, This, Larry, you have been approved unanimously, and thank you so much for stepping up to do it. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's see.
Elizabeth, do you mind if I just cut in here with a question about the
Yep.
document? So am I just crossing my name, crossing out Dennis and
I'll
Randy
let you
Davis?
know what it says.
Oh,
So
sorry.
for now, I'll let you know. You'll know.
Just landed back with me. I didn't know if that happened. Oh,
I think that'll be fine, but I just want to make sure.
Yep. totally cool. Thanks.
Okay, 5:32. Well, good. I'm going to skip down to our discussion about open meeting law and Robert's rules, because we have Pietro here, and I was hoping that we would get him around 5:30. So
He's early.
he's early and it's 5:30. So did everybody have a chance to read through both things about open meeting law and about Robert's rules? Excellent. Does anybody have questions for Pietro Lynn, who has joined us? Thank you, Pietro.
Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm doing much better than the last time we saw each other. How are you doing?
Excellent, and very eager to answer any questions you have around open meeting laws. Or Robert's Rules of Order are pretty picayune once we get into the weeds. So if you have a question, you might stump me on that, but I can certainly get back to you.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions about open meeting law. And one is, according to the law, are we required to post, or what are we required to do with comments and letters that come to the board? Are we required to post them anywhere as part of public record, or I have not been able to find anything specific about what we do with materials that are sent to us.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a really good question. Boards all over the state grapple with that because there's always a desire to be as inclusive as possible with your communities, and especially around their communications. But the reality is this: you as a board are not engaged in an interactive process. Largely, your role is to talk to each other under the open meeting laws, and so there are provisions for people who bother to attend either by video or by phone or ultimately in person, for them to have their say. But there's no provision under the open meeting law for people who don't even do that to be able to send correspondence that will be part of the meeting. And so it is well within your discretion, if you choose, to decline to accept written materials as part of your meeting. I guess what I'm saying to you, Elizabeth, in the end is that you as a board can do what you want with those materials, but there's a presumption under the open meeting laws that there's a magic to all of us being together in a meeting, and that the interaction that may exist by virtue of the public making comments to you while they're either on the phone or by video or in person, and your ability to hear and to weigh what they're saying, that is more magical in some way than somebody sending something in by writing. And in particular, that's true where the written material is anonymous. And so I guess what I would say to you is that you can do what you want, but you're under no compulsion to include written comments as part of your meeting.
Even if someone has asked when they send it to have it part of the minutes or part of.
Yeah, no, even if somebody asks, because again, if you remember, the open meeting law only talks about public comment. And public comment is a moment where people must identify themselves. They get to talk to you directly. It is a verbal communication, and one that requires them to have taken the steps necessary to be present. So you can, if you wish, decline to accept any of the information that people wish to submit by writing.
Okay, by extension, here's my second question. Is the board required to respond to comments made by members of the public?
So Elizabeth, let me give you the longer answer. The short answer is no. And in fact, you know, what I often tell boards when I spend time with them training around open meeting law issues is that actually what the law in Vermont contemplates is not question time in the British Parliament, right? Like this is the talking really that is contemplated by the open meeting law is talking between you. That is debate over the issues that are raised and require your discussion or action. There really is nothing in the open meeting laws that ever contemplates that there will be a give and take between the board on the one hand and audience members or members of the community who show up. And oftentimes boards operate in a way that's highly informal, and it looks more like a conversation than what is understood to be the process contemplated both by statute and by Robert's Rules of Order, which incidentally is required by statute. And so I guess what I would say to you is that what I recommend, consistent with the open meeting laws and Robert's Rules of Order, is that when people get a chance to talk, whether it's as part of a response to some item that's under consideration by the board or as part of their public comment, the board's job is to listen, not to respond. You don't need to respond. In fact, there's nothing in the rules that contemplates you will. And oftentimes it's important for you to set in advance parameters, rules that govern what comment looks like. What I always suggest is that first of all, it be content neutral. We don't let the people we like talk more than the people we don't like. We don't like the messages people want to deliver to get more time or get more weight or get greater response than the messages that we don't like. It has to be content neutral. But the rules might look something like this. You get 2 to 3 minutes. You can't use profanity. You are not permitted to engage in constant repetition. And you must identify yourself and your community of residents. We will not respond to you necessarily when you're making your comments. And when you're finished, you must yield the floor to the next person. And it can be challenging to enforce those rules, but those are the kinds of rules that are specifically contemplated by the open meeting law. It's hard if somebody starts asking you questions during public comment. What about this issue? I want to hear a response. You can if you want to, again, but not under the rules. Under the rules, you don't need to. Under the rules, you listen, you take it in, and what you do after that is something that depends on what is on the agenda and what is not. So let me say one other thing about agendas. I think it's really important for boards to comply with their agendas. The reason that it's so important is that is your preview of coming attractions to the community. And if you want to be consistent with that preview of coming attractions, if you want transparency so that people, when they care about issues, can bother to show up so they can talk to you about those issues, whether in public comment or before a vote, if you want to give them that opportunity, then it needs to be on the agenda. When we start talking about things that are not on the agenda, we're cheating our communities of the opportunity to appear and participate and hear around those issues. So I think that's one of the reasons why I think it's incredibly important for boards to have discipline about what they are going to talk about if it's not on the agenda. Because if it's important enough for you to talk about, let's get it on the agenda so that everybody has a chance to come and talk about that issue and hear you debate that issue. Does that answer the question?
It does. It brings up a couple of smaller questions, and one was that when Christine and I attended the VSBA thing a few weeks, open meeting law thing a few weeks ago, I wasn't able to stay for the whole thing, unfortunately. But one of the things that I did pick up was that limiting time to 2 minutes was, that limiting time to 3 minutes was bordering on limiting free speech. And that 2 minute, this is from Sarah Copenhagen, and that 2 minutes was really out of the question.
Well, I mean, Sarah can have her opinion. I would suggest to all of you that I've been to a lot of board meetings. I've heard a lot of people talk, and it's incredibly rare for somebody to spend more than 3 minutes talking to you without constantly repeating themselves. I'm sorry, that's been my experience, that 3 minutes tends to be a long time for most normal non-lawyer human beings to express themselves. And so, look, I have never seen anyone challenge that rule, and I have been talking to boards about it for a very long time. And you can make it longer if you want. I don't have a problem with that. All I want is for you to enforce it consistently, no matter who the messenger is or no matter what the message is. And also, boards sometimes get confused, and they think that they can limit people's ability to talk about, for example, other students or employees of the district. Those are all fair game. If you're a member of the community and you want to come to public comment, you can talk about the phone book. I guess there are no phone books anymore, so I'm showing my age. You can talk about other students who are making you mad. You can talk about teachers who you think are incompetent, superintendents who make you furious. Like, you get to talk about almost anything you want. It's just you don't get to use profanity to do it. And then you as a board have to sit there and listen. You can disagree vehemently. You don't have to respond, but that's the magic of public comment.
All right, thank you. I'm learning. Bill, did you have a question?
Yeah, sort of a follow-up question to the agenda. So are you suggesting that we, as a board, attempt to limit last-minute agenda changes?
Bill, hi. Good to see you again, my friend.
Awesome to see you again, too.
Yeah. So look, this is what I would say. I do suggest that. So when I do my training on open meeting law, what I'm really tough on boards about is transparency. And if we are changing our agenda at the meeting, what we're really doing is we're making it impossible for community members who care enough to check the agenda to know what we're going to talk about. And so to the extent we possibly can, it's really good for us to make sure that the agenda is comprehensive and we don't change it. And now, look, I'm a realist. I know things come up and we sometimes forget to get things on the agenda. But what I really don't like, and it's not, like, what I like doesn't matter. Nobody cares about that, nor should they. But what I don't think serves our communities well is coming in and somebody saying, well, I've got, like, this really important issue that's going to matter to a lot of people, and let's get it on the agenda for today because, we got some time. That is something that really, I think, makes people feel like you're trying to pull a fast one on them. And I don't think you ever want to be there.
Right. Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
We recently had to add a new board member, and it was off election time. And members of the public wanted to have our interviews of the candidates public. Is that open meeting?
Yeah. Oh, so another really great question. So look, this is what there is a specific provision that allows you to interview employees and officials in private. You can do that. But on the other hand, you can do it in public if you choose to. Remember, all of these executive session rules are really within your discretion. You get to decide whether you are going to go into executive session or not. And what I would suggest to you, again, sort of me thumping on the issue of transparency, if we're interviewing public officials, board members, I don't know why we wouldn't do that in public. Doesn't the public have a right to know when it comes to somebody who is going to serve in that kind of public, not employment capacity? And by the way, just so you know, you as board members are not employees of the district. You are something else, and the law is pretty clear about that. Not that it matters a whole lot in what you're going to do, but the rules that govern employees are not the rules that govern you.
Thank you.
I've got another couple of questions, Pietro. When we as board members have a problem with each other and we want to discuss whether it would be appropriate for another board member to step down, does that have to be done in public?
So I think what you're identifying, Elizabeth, is this question of, well, what is a meeting? Because there's a very narrow set of circumstances that get you into executive session. You know, those are, and the list is, you know, it's all there in, what is it, 1 VSA section 313, right? It's a small list of things. And forgive me, right? Like I'll do a little detour here and talk a little bit about executive session.
Thank you.
Two kinds of subjects that can get you into executive session. There's this list of things where if the public knew about it, somebody would be at a substantial disadvantage, right? Like something that would be bad, and we can't do it. And those are things like contracts, labor relations agreements, arbitration, mediation, grievances, other than tax grievances. I've got the list in front of me. I don't remember all these. Pending or probable civil litigation, confidential attorney-client privilege communications like this. We could have done this in private. And those things, if there would be a disadvantage, and after making a specific findings, we can talk about those things in executive session. There's some things that are deemed so sensitive that under the open meeting laws that you always can. You don't even need to make a finding. Like, these are the things that the law presumes supports an executive session. And those are the sale of real estate, the appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, right? You all as board members are public officers. So we go back to what was raised before. You can do that in private. Discipline or dismissal action against an employee or an officer, something where there's a danger, right? Like, so if we're doing safety plans or something like that, and then student records, right? Those are things you can talk about in executive session. But other than that, nothing, right? And so when we come back to this other issue, I am, Elizabeth, coming back to the question you asked, and those questions are about board disputes. And I get this question often from board members and board chairs. Like, well, can't we just go in private and hash this out? And the answer is no. There's nothing in there that gets you to a place where, you know, you can work out your issues in private as a board. However, we also get to another issue, which is it a meeting? Because the only time that these rules apply to you is when there is a quorum present. And if a quorum is not present, it is not a meeting. And so when I think about boards trying to work things out, you know, Elizabeth, if Bill is, you know, if he is being difficult again and you need to whip him back into line, which I'm sure you do all the time, you know, you can privately have that conversation with him. And we don't need to worry about the open meeting law. But when we start adding other people to that conversation, whether in writing or email or some other means, telephone, right? Like when we start adding other people and we get over critical mass, which is quorum, then we're in violation of the open meeting law for not having it at a meeting, and frankly, for not having it in public.
So I have a question kind of carrying on from the is it a meeting concept, and like kind of what is quorum, what is a meeting? And this has come up with some of the events we've done. Is it permissible under the law to have a quorum of the board present to perform some sort of function that is not board business related? So I know that one thing came up, Rebecca, you had the idea of having the board help out at a town dinner. Yeah. And like, what are the sort of parameters around that sort of activity? Or if we had a, you know, a presentation of some sort of subject matter where we weren't doing board business, but, you know,
Or even
Like the
graduation.
budget meeting.
yeah,
Yes.
graduation, yeah. That kind of thing.
All right, so this is a really good, you know, we're gonna go right through all of my PowerPoint slides with this. So let me say this. A meeting, here's the definition of a meeting. It's when a quorum meets to consider, hear the words, governmental functions, including any matter over which the public body has supervision, control, jurisdiction, or advisory power. Right? So if we go to graduation, not a meeting, right? Like we're at graduation, right? We're not doing anything there. But if we, you know, if we get together at a party and we start talking about what a great job Christine's doing and we should give her a huge raise, right, Christine?
Right.
Then that is probably in violation of the open meeting law. There are some things that are, you raise a different point. There are some things that are specifically not a meeting, right? Like they are listed in the statute as not a meeting. And those are communications around scheduling, right? Like we just want to schedule a meeting, not a problem. Organizing an agenda, not a meeting. Distributing materials for a meeting, not a meeting. And then finally, trainings. Trainings are not a meeting. And so if, for example, you had wanted to call this a training instead of putting this as part of your board retreat, you wouldn't warn it, you wouldn't do anything. We'd just get together and I would train you around open meeting law and it would not be subject to the open meeting law.
All right, thank you.
I had one.
Yeah.
Pietro, when Elizabeth and I were at the open meeting law training, we were told that a reason to go into executive session, I mean, I've heard many boards say for personnel issues, but that's not allowed, correct? It has to be a disciplinary issue?
No. You can go into executive session to talk about, for example, a performance evaluation. That is a personnel issue. What I would say is this. Now we're bleeding into my speech making around agendas, and so what boards frequently do, wrongly I think, is they say, oh, they put personnel matter executive session on the agenda, and I would suggest to you that that's simply not enough. That we have to get comfortable with describing it in a way where if somebody wanted to challenge it, they would be able to do it. And so, for example, let's say for a moment that, Principal Jane Smith is somebody we're very unhappy with. And you have no Jane Smith principals in your district, so I can do this safely. How would we get to executive session? What would that agenda item look like? And I would suggest to you, it might look like performance evaluation or performance discussion regarding principal, regarding administrator, something that allows a member of the public to look at that and say, aha, that's appropriate. Or in the alternative, that would not be appropriate, and I can challenge it at the meeting if I want to.
Okay, thank you.
I've got another question. And this actually pertains to tonight's meeting. Is it okay to have an intermission in a meeting?
Yes. Yeah, sure. Again, the only limitation I would say is this: if it is the kind of intermission, if it is a kind of pause or break that would cause the public to leave, and that's the intention behind it, then no. Because remember, the philosophy, the impetus behind the open meeting law is we want people to have a fair and full opportunity to observe the sausage being made, right? Like to see all of you in your brilliance doing the work of the public. And so it's really important for us to make sure we structure our meetings in a way that does not actively discourage that kind of, not participation, but observation.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anne's having trouble hearing. See that?
Oh no. Anne, can you hear now? Hello? Does that help?
Maybe she can't.
It might be her
It
computer.
might be her computer, yeah. I will tell her,
I think her
can,
she should be able to, it's the same mic.
yeah. Christine Osgood, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Does anybody else have any, so how much do you know about Robert's rules?
Well, as I said, I know open meeting law way, way better, but you can try me on Robert's rules.
Okay, do you know the difference between Robert's rules for all boards versus Robert's rules for small boards?
Yes.
Can you explain the difference?
Yeah, so the rules, I mean, the application of the rules, it depends on the size of your board, right? And that's the big issue. It is just more informality under the rules for small boards, but I don't think you're a small, how many members are on your board?
On this board, 6.
Oh, so you fit, you are a small board. But even for small boards, you need a second, right? Like there needs somebody needs to say they second something. And that gets me 2 minutes, right? Like that's, and what I would say to you is that we need to be really careful about the minutes that we create when we have these kinds of meetings. And so let me tell you that there are certain things that are required in your minutes. And I think we sometimes forget how important minutes are because this is all being recorded and we think, oh, well, there's a video of what happened. So that's great. Then that tells everybody what happened. As a legal matter, your minutes are what you did. Whatever's on the videotape, that's great entertainment, right? That's an opportunity to see those dramatic moments time and time again. But that's not, as a legal matter, what happened. Only the minutes reflect what happened. And so we have to be really careful to make sure that those minutes are a true and accurate reflection of what happened at the meeting. And so these are the things that have to be there. All topics and motions that arise at the meeting and give a true indication of the business of the meeting, right? Those are the things that must be in there. And that includes who was there, all members of the board present, all other active participants, all motions, proposals, resolutions offered, and what was done when those items were offered, and the results of any vote. I would suggest to you that something as significant as a second probably ought to go into the meeting minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Sorry.
What's that?
Sorry, I just get going on these OML issues.
No, that's okay.
Pietro, when I saw the going into executive session, I can't think of whether I read it or saw it. They mentioned listing the actual law, like section 3 of 2A or something like that. Is that necessary?
Yeah, no, but what we have to do is we can look. Some boards are highly formalistic. I find in larger communities there is a greater willingness to include the statute section they're relying on. But we have to use the magic language that makes it really obvious which section we're relying on. So I guess you don't have to use the section number like, oh, one VSA section 313 subpart. We don't have to do that, but we have to mimic the language that we're using.
Thanks.
So I was planning to use from this meeting onwards, I was planning to use more of a narrative than a citation. Because I think it helps people to understand what we're really doing in executive session.
So Elizabeth, totally support that. I think it's really important for people to understand why you're doing something in secret, because that's what it is. It's a secret. And if the public can better understand why you're doing it, then I think there'll be far greater acceptance of it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Dave,
Dave has a question.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
My name's Dave Taft. I'm from Windsor. I'm one of the people that comes here. I really appreciate everything you're saying. I'm very excited about it. But my question is, on tonight's agenda, it says executive session VSA 3, meet with teacher. Are you suggesting that the public should know what teacher? I mean, this is very vague.
Yeah. So we all need to get better at these things. And I would say that, first of all, no, I'm not advocating we identify the teacher, but I do think it's important to understand why we're meeting with the teacher, because that's what gets us into executive session.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anne, I see your hand. I heard your blue.
Hi, I'm Ann Griffin. I live here in Windsor as well. I have two daughters in Windsor School. And I'm sorry, I logged in late, so please, you can tell me if I'm completely irrelevant or I missed something and I'll watch it after. But just the part that I was catching when I finally fixed my volume, talking about whether or not you're like citing the specific parts of the statutes and things that you're going by. My only thought would be if there's like distrust and stuff, and I'm not claiming to be someone with distrust. I'm saying if there seems to, we seem to be in a pretty emotionally heated time right now and stuff. So if you were to cite things, I think it might make people, because they could see and they could say, yep, I see what you're saying, versus, if you want to just do a narrative or you just want to explain things to us, then people who don't really trust in the process are just thinking, you're probably just telling me what you want me to know or think. So just a thought.
Well, so Anne, I'll respond to that, not Christine, because like I'm doing the training tonight. Look, these are there's no right answer, and every community can find its way to the protocol that makes sense for them. But the key is, for me, the key is we have to be clear about the reasons why we're going into executive session, not just even. What I'd never want is to say, pursuant to 1 VSA section 313, and then identify the subsection that applies without ever once talking about the substance. I would not want that. That's the one approach that I would discourage.
Right, a little bit of both, though, right? So
well,
there's something if I want to look it up.
I was slightly disagreeing with you. I was saying that it was okay for the board to, if it's clear which section it's going to be, because the language tracks it, then that's I'm okay with it. But if you've got a community that's really concerned about executive session, certainly one way to meet that concern is to do both, right? Like that you can do also if you want to.
Otherwise, I'm looking up the language you're using to try and figure out what, because I'm not going to be familiar with it. I'm not going to hear your words and be like, I know exactly what section they're talking about.
Well, you say that, but you know what? It's funny. The open meeting law is pretty short, especially the part. So if you go online, I would encourage you to download 1 VSA section 313. Like it's right there online, and it's short. It's 3 paragraphs long. And when you hear those magic words, you're going to be able to do a little itemized checklist pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I think you'd be okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, nice to speak with you, Anne.
Yes, you too.
Thank you, Anne. Pietro, so I read a book twice about Robert's Rules of Order.
Yikes.
in the last 10 days. And I would like to have your opinion on the question of whether if we were to adopt Robert's rules for small boards, number one, do we need to adopt them for open meeting law? And number two, do you think that we, under Robert's rules for small boards, do you think that we need to have a relentless cycle of votes about like if I wanted to go over there and get a bottle of water right now, we would have to vote to pause the meeting while I went and got a bottle of water.
No,
And
no,
then
no,
vote to-
no, Elizabeth. But what I would say to you is you don't need to adopt Robert's Rules of Order because the legislature already did it
No.
for you.
Yes, right, but I mean, we have to, we're not even adopting Robert's rules, it's required by law, but we can, if we choose to, adopt Robert's rules for small boards, right?
So the statute is sufficiently unclear where I think you right? It says that you will run your meetings pursuant to Robert's Rules of Order. And what I would suggest to you is that if you're a small board, the most rational place to go is to the rules for small boards. And I'm not even sure that you have to vote to do it, but you can if you like. And that's certainly one way to be transparent with the public about how you will operate, and I support that. But let me get back to the question you raised. Do you like if you go get some water? No, Elizabeth, I don't think you need a vote to go get some water or pause the meeting. But what I do think, and this is incredibly challenging, is that I do think we need to operate agenda items in a way that's formal. And we're not good at that. We really like to make it a conversation. Robert's Rules does not contemplate conversations. That's not what this is, right? There's this very formalized process of we have motions and seconds and discussion, which is really debate. We only get to talk when we're recognized by the board chair. The board chair, incidentally, has the ultimate authority to create the agenda. You know, like this is a very formalized process if we want to follow the law. And, you know, like there's no open meeting law jail if you get it wrong. Nobody's But the reality is this, that you know, boards in Vermont in particular, and in small communities specifically, are deeply uncomfortable with the concept that we are going to run this like it's, you know, like it's formal. And we're not gonna have just a give and take with people in the audience and with each other. But that's not what's contemplated by the rules.
Okay, but here's another question.
Yep.
And then let's let Pietro go so we can move on with our meeting, unless anybody else has burning questions. But you were here in the beginning of the meeting.
Yes.
And you heard me kind of rejigger how the meeting was going to be structured. Is that okay, or is it traditional to have all of the votes bunched down at the bottom, and all of the discussion? That's what I thought.
No, what is traditional is that you have an agenda item, you work your way through it. If it's an action item, the vote is taken after the debate.
That's what I thought. Thank you very much. It's good to be right sometimes.
Yay! All right, well, listen, thank you all very much. I wish you a great evening with your retreat, and if there's anything else, let me know.
I think she left it
Okay,
up.
okay. Thank you so much for being here with us, Pietro.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Pietro.
Bye. Bye. All right. Next is, okay. The next, Anne, do you still have, is that a new hand or a stale hand? Or legacy
I am
hand?
very sorry, that was a stale
No,
hand.
that's okay. Just making sure. Okay. Going back to our agenda, we have hear and vote on new hires.
Yes. Ready? Sure. Go.
In the middle school, we have 2 new hires and we have 2 positions still unfilled. The new hires, we are happy to welcome Meredith Richter as our new middle school counselor.
Yay.
Yeah.
Super excited. And second, Ms. Jennifer Thompson is going to be joining our middle school team. She is moving into, she comes with a very varied background with all subjects, and she is really a all team player, all areas. She even asked about teaching other things like in electives and specials and passion period. Currently, she's filling Mr. Zach Husband's position, who's moving to the high school.
Okay.
We have a generalist 6th grade position available and a middle school science position available.
Who's, leaving for her? Did you say?
Zach Husband is moving from middle school to high school.
Ah, good.
He's replacing Mr. Zwicker, who's retiring.
Yep, perfect,
Yeah.
good.
Middle school science, and what was the other one that was still
A
open?
6th grade generalist position.
Okay. Okay, and have there been any resignations?
No.
Okay.
Want to go next?
Sure, yeah, a few exciting ones for the elementary school. We are welcoming Jessica Taft, who has been one of our longtime 4th grade teachers. She's moving into an instructional coach interventionist position. I'm very excited about that. Mike Doogie, coming to us from Hartford area, is moving into also a interventionist / instructional coach position. Very excited about him. And Stephanie Murray is moving into our open 1st grade position. She's wonderful. And I hope to be able to tell you about 3 more additional hires coming very soon. They're not quite ready to go, but very soon it should be official.
And that will complete your hiring.
And that will complete our hiring for the
Which is
elementary.
very exciting. Yeah.
We have hired Madison Murphy, so we will have 2, Madison Murphy.
Oh, Madison Murphy.
So we will have 2 full-time counselors again. We have hired Lauren Warner, who will replace Julie Elward in the theater department.
Lauren what?
Warner,
Okay.
she comes with a lot of experience and a lot of excitement that we have a theater program built within our day. Christy Keeney is moving from elementary art to high school art. Dave Keeney is moving from band to our certified teacher in the hub. And we have an offer out there for a new band teacher, and hopefully on Wednesday I will tell you that was accepted. And our health teacher who accepted the position has reneged due to a personal reason.
Sorry.
Happens. But it created opportunity.
And Jennifer?
We have Hope Yeager, who I think was on the agenda last month in our 4-5, Cindy Parent, who's our 6th grade teacher. Kelly Donnell will be our 1st grade teacher. We are still looking for a permanent sub, an instructional coach, and an art coach.
I'm sorry, can you repeat Kelly?
Kelly Donnell.
Donald.
She's been our substitute interventionist this year.
She's gonna be the new 6th grade?
She's gonna be 1st grade.
Who's the 6th grade?
6th grade will be Cindy Parent. She's a 5th grade teacher over at Springfield coming that way.
Okay, and do we have to approve the hires?
Yes.
Okay.
You do.
I will take a motion to approve the hiring of Meredith Richter, Jennifer Thompson, let's see, Jessica Taft, Mike Doogie, Stephanie Murray, Madison Murphy, Lauren Warner, Christy Keeney, Cindy Parent, and Kelly Donald. Did I get them all?
Hope Yeager.
Oh, Hope Yeager.
Dave Keeney. Did she say Cindy?
Yeah.
Do we need to approve Dave Keeney?
I don't think
we
so,
do.
but you put Christy in there, so I was like, oh, maybe they do.
Okay,
So Christy wouldn't need to be approved either.
okay,
Right, nor Jessica Taft.
okay. I'll take them out then. Hold on, Jessica Taft. Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve Meredith Richter, Jennifer Thompson, Mike Doogie, Stephanie Murray, Madison Murphy, Lauren Warner, Cindy Parent, Kelly Donald, and Hope Yeager. Did I get it? Okay, excellent. Okay.
Second?
Okay, any discussion?
Just a huge kudos to the administrators. It's a lot of time and energy, and they've done a great job in hiring. Yeah.
And counselors too.
Yeah.
And
Literally, that
and
is so awesome.
staff and teachers on the committees
Yeah.
working tirelessly to
Mm.
welcome someone and give them a good view of our school and our team. And we've had more shadow days of people meet and greets than ever before, more student involvement than ever before. It's been really great to see so many candidates come to see the school, because I think that we give them the option for a virtual meeting when it's convenient for people and it's difficult. But the meet and greets, really, I think the school sells itself, and people feel welcome and want to be there and be a part of the team.
And it's competitive. They can shop around, so.
Yeah,
it
I
speaks
was just gonna
volumes.
say, are all of these hires from our region, or are there any from out of state?
Most of them are region.
Most are from the region.
Yeah. Most are.
Do you still have the mentor?
I think our new counselor is out of state, and that's it.
I don't think, it's not something I focus on. I try to focus on what their certifications are, and so. The only time we hear about it is somebody is really from far away and they're asking for some supports to find housing, which is difficult.
Yeah.
So we ask if Ms. Tina Canfield can make any suggestions, word of mouth, and let people know. Especially like a young new teacher who's taking their first position and they're moving to a new area.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? And abstentions? Hearing none. All of those teachers' hires have been approved.
Excellent.
And so are there in all three of your areas, 4 of your areas, are there no teachers who have left that we should know about?
I mean, Wicker retired and Julie retired, but we announced that
Did
last
that.
meeting.
It's great. It's great.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Please do.
So say somebody doesn't sign their contract, do we acknowledge that as a board? If they've been there tenured, or only if they resign before?
Only if they resign.
Okay.
If they don't sign their contract.
Oh, we don't learn about non-renewals.
You don't learn about if a staff member chooses not to sign their contract, we don't bring those to the board. They're moving on. They're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. So there are some that have not signed because they're moving or they're.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Next we have public forums RFP. Are you ready? Request for proposal.
Oh,
What's the matter?
nothing. I'm just thinking to myself.
Okay.
So, I bring something up.
Sure.
I've thought long and hard about this, about the forms. I feel like we're just ready to move on. I don't know if they're necessary for the students.
Well, it's funny you should bring that up because I have several points of discussion, and the very first one is, do we agree in principle? Because we haven't necessarily all discussed that as a board.
Yeah. I feel that if there wasn't legal attributes, we could have done it in 2020 or 2021. But I mean, I was in 7th grade when this happened. The seniors that just graduated were freshmen. Nobody knows who Tiffany Riley is anymore. But that's just my thought.
So you're saying it for the students that the form is not necessary?
I don't know if it's even necessary at all anymore because it's been so long. I think it may be time to move on.
Thank you for that, Hudson.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Bill,
Um,
agree in principle, or should we revisit our thoughts about it?
At this point, I'm struggling with what exactly we would accomplish with doing it. I think those that say that they've read the evidence and are still really disgusted with what we did, we're not going to change their minds. It was an awful experience. As a board member who participated in it, I'm honestly easy to say that, you know, there were mistakes that were made by the board, but our intentions were always to do what was best. And at this point, the board is very different. We are, very few of us were actually part of that. I mean, and so I'm going to wholeheartedly agree with Hudson.
Like, I talked to a couple classmates. They don't even remember who Tiffany Riley is. Half the staff didn't even work at the school at that point. I'd like to forget about it and focus on our students now.
Thank you. Nancy?
Wow, that's really interesting to hear, because I was always wondering, I think even Dave had mentioned it at a board meeting, that it was going to be, we'd say one thing and they'd say another, and I don't know where we would meet. And I thought once people read the whole thing, that they would understand where it came from. But apparently, people have read it and still think just exactly what you said, still think we were wrong. And I look at it and think, wow, yeah, look at all these steps that were taken. And so certainly would be easier. I just don't know what the public, and I don't think it's all the public, but what they need and how they would feel if we did or didn't have a forum. It's a difficult situation. And that Bill and I and Elizabeth were the only three that were part of it.
Thank you, Nancy. Megan?
I thank you, Hudson, for your words, because I do tend to agree with you. My only thought is some of the teachers that are involved, I wonder if there's value in, like, maybe not having a public forum, maybe not having a student forum, but if the teachers feel like it's important for them to be able to get their thoughts out, that's something that I think would be important to think about from my perspective.
I think I've taught like some teachers that, you know, we kind of talk about these sort of issues. They want to move. I think they all want to move on.
And I just wonder if having that conversation with them, making sure that is there. Yeah, I think they were probably ones that were affected in a different way and could still be affected, would be my thought process.
Thank you. Davis?
Well, I'm glad that we're having this conversation, because I think that when this has come up in the past, it's been from a position of, this is something that we own the responsibility for doing, and therefore we are doing it. And there wasn't really, this conversation hadn't happened up until now. And I think that in and of itself is kind of a learning experience around this, which, you know, it's not a situation that comes up often. Hopefully it is not something that any of us have to deal with again. But my thought process on it has been that in a very broad general sense, when something as impactful as the removal of an administrator happens, I think that it is the board's responsibility to present whatever information they can and be as as accessible as they can to the student body and the community and the faculty and any other staff to answer questions about it. I also think that in this case, which is really unique, we're dealing with that. A lot of time has passed. Ideally, yeah, we would have been able to get everyone together and do this right when it happened, like when this had happened, when it was fresh, when a lot of these questions were still up in the air, and maybe when the hearing document was made public. I think that at this point, the other thing that I have to balance on that, because again, like, you know, we all chose to be here. We all have the responsibility to answer these questions. And, you know, particularly those of us who were a part of the board that made that decision, which again presents another issue in that 50% of the board that was there at that time is no longer here. The other thing that I have to weigh, though, as much as I want to own that responsibility as much as possible, is that I have yet to hear anybody from the public or anybody from the faculty or any students clamoring for us to do this. And I think that that's something that, you know, to me, this hasn't really manifested as like there's one cohort in the community that wants it and one that doesn't. I've heard in a cross-cutting way that just questioning of why we're doing this. When we were operating from that position of this is something that we have the responsibility to do and we need to do it. I think that we went about that process up to this point in good faith, but I think that having this discussion right now and sort of getting the broad view of the fact that no one seems to be asking us to do this outside of this body up to like prior to now and to present. And you know, so much time has passed, Hudson. I think that you open this up really well because at this point, the hearing document is public. Yeah. We are available to answer questions about it, whether we were on the board or whether we were not. And I think that that is probably sufficient. The only thing I would maybe recommend is offering some of that openness, like, because I'm acting on what I've seen and what I've heard, but there hasn't been any formal process saying like, hey, like, what would you like to see? And like putting out a survey and like actively gathering that data.
We need to, I wonder if like a statement of just a couple paragraphs would, just saying we have decided, do we think something like that is necessary? Like, or just about all issues in general, like we are open ears.
I never think it's a bad idea to state that as often and as emphatically as possible that we are here to listen. I mean, as Pietro said, but also to be receptive to, especially about something as momentous as removing an administrator. That we're here and we want to hear what people have to say and we are willing to answer questions about it. I don't know that with everything that has gone on that a statement is even really strictly necessary right now. I think that those who are watching this recording and seeing the minutes on this, I think that is sufficient. That's my view. Broadly, I agree with you, Hudson.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Davis. Rebecca?
Well, I do so appreciate having a student on our board. Just creates a real different dynamic, an important one too. We talk about having all stakeholders at the table. I think our responsibility as a board is to really focus on what's, moving our kids forward, creating an environment where our kids are growing, and I think that and that our staff and supporting our staff and our superintendent and our administrators, and so I think that if something is taking away from that that responsibility, that's an issue, and especially if it's something as was mentioned that not everyone is interested in discussing. I appreciate, the fact that you said you've spoken to some students and you have heard from them on what is it that you want us to do as a board. It sounds like you've even spoken to some teachers, and those are really, I think the folks that we as a board and administration are responsible for supporting and helping move forward at a time where we have positions that have been open, counseling positions for years, and well, I don't know if it's that long, but I mean, I think that it's important for us to focus on what we need to do to make sure that our students and our teachers are being supported, getting what they need to be able to move forward. I think, I don't know if there have been, I don't, you know, the community it's just as important. And if at some point the community wants to reach out and say, well, we'd like to have a conversation, I think you can put that out.
Yeah.
Or you can make that available to folks. But I think our focus should be on the students, our teachers, our administrators, our school.
Yeah. We can put all that behind us now.
Well, not necessarily, but I am very open to having a conversation with anybody about this. And to be honest, as all of you know, I tend to be rather blunt. But I am not willing to have a conversation on the phone or via email. If someone wants to have a conversation, hear my side of the story, then they need to make an appointment and come see me.
Ann Griffin, I see your hand and I heard your bloop.
Oh, sorry. Hello. Thank you. I don't know if it's appropriate, but I'm a parent and a member of the community. So I thought maybe I'd throw my 2 cents in. I totally agree that I feel like the time has come and passed for this to happen. I would like to say that I know many people who agree with me that I think your responsibility was to have done it and done it back then. So I think that was a big mistake. But I think at this point, it's really there's so many other things that I wish that you guys were focusing on instead. I think we really need to focus on there being enough staff in school, that the kids' test scores are coming back up to where we know they should be. So I as a member of the community and a parent, think that that's what you need to work on right now.
Thank you, Ann. Just as a point of clarification, the only reason that we haven't done it until now is that we were involved in that lawsuit and it wasn't legal for us to. Otherwise, I mean, we have been talking about it since the week after it happened.
Right.
So,
yeah, and the fact that that went on so long and made you not able to, you know, that's beyond your control. You're right. Yeah. But just as a member of the public, I don't need to hear about it anymore, you know? It's done.
Okay, thank you for that input. I would also like to offer that anybody who would like to hear or ask questions, I am also available to answer questions. I was going to say that I was going to suggest a motion to not do the forms, but we never had a motion to do the forms in the first place. So
stop talking about it.
Hearing that everybody is in agreement about it, let's move on. Now that takes out quite a bit of our good. So I have all these different things about
It's like dinner, isn't it?
yes. So I will take a motion to pause for dinner. Do we want to, well, I'll take a motion to pause for dinner.
So moved.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Okay, now, before we vote on it, does anybody want to continue the meeting while we eat or pause entirely for dinner and not talk about, yes?
So my only question is that are there public facing portions of the meeting that have yet to occur?
Yes.
That would happen after we have dinner?
Yes.
Okay.
It is what we have left in the public portion of the meeting is the discussion of the board resolution supporting teachers.
Oh,
Does it make sense to
I
just
don't-
finish that?
Single public item left, I would,
Yep,
yes.
just do that.
I would
Yes.
recommend just
Okay.
getting it,
Yeah.
getting it done. Because the rest of this meeting is training, correct?
So, then whoever made that motion, could you please withdraw it?
I will withdraw my motion.
Okay, thank you. Oh, all those in favor of Davis withdrawing his motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Okay, then let's move to, oh, there we go. Resolution. And so I had a PDF of the resolution posted to a PDF of the draft based on the template posted to our meeting agenda. Okay.
Is it with the green text?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just quickly, I'm just gonna read through it really quickly, okay?
Lost shorter than the template.
What's that?
It's a lot shorter than the original template,
It's
which I
much shorter than the
appreciate.
original.
Thank you for doing that. If you'd offered to read through that, I might have stopped you.
Well, that's why it was a template. Whereas the existence of a strong, effective system of, and really, I'm just reading through this, and this is not by any means, this is still based on a template, so not by any means final at all. Just let me make that clear. Whereas the existence of a strong, effective system of free public education for all children is essential to our democratic system of government, and whereas a commitment to quality education requires involvement with and support of teachers, parents, students, and the general public, and whereas the Mount Ascutney School District values nurturing learning and teaching environments, supports and respects educators as trained professionals, and is committed to ensuring that all students can safely thrive regardless of their identity or background. And whereas Mount Ascutney School District supports education that values honesty about who we are, integrity and how we treat others, and courage to do what's right by listening to, learning from, and respecting diverse viewpoints. And whereas educators should be accorded high public esteem, reflecting the value that the community places on public education. And whereas Mount Ascutney School District values our educators who, through pedagogically sound, age-appropriate curricula and teaching standards, help students understand our collective past, spark curiosity and critical thinking, and prepare all students to meet the challenges of our multicultural present and future. Therefore, be it resolved that on whatever date and whatever month or year by the Board of Mount Ascutney School District, that the district stands steadfast in its commitment to foster an inclusive, culturally responsive educational environment where every student, educator, and community member is treated with dignity and respect, and condemns racism, sexism, and all forms of bigotry in our schools and community. And be it further resolved that the Mount Ascutney School District stands behind educators who teach district curricula and Vermont educational quality standards in a truthful way that represents the full scope of this country's history and present reality, and that the district further shall support and defend educators' use of teaching materials that incorporate diverse perspectives and that represent and acknowledge the experiences of all students. Ensure that individual educators who teach to the Vermont educational quality standards are not punished for teaching accurate information. Honor the training, expertise, and professional judgment of its educators, and respect pedagogical approaches that engage students around difficult questions in an inclusive, critical, and age-appropriate way. Commit to dedicating time in schools for ongoing professional development, culturally responsive training, book studies, celebrations of diversity, critical conversations among staff and with students, and establishing community partnerships to support this work. Be it further resolved that Mount Escutney School District commits to educational quality and that the district shall, 1, reject the idea that education equity is a zero-sum proposition in which some students lose opportunities to help others succeed, and instead work to provide all students with a world-class education. And 2, ensure safe, welcoming, and effective schools in which every student's academic success is fostered and every teacher is respected and supported in the work they do. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay.
I think.
Yes, Rebecca.
I think that this is a great statement to aspire to be. I mean, we're not there. I think that it would require conversations, but definitely a valuable statement to adopt if we could. I really appreciate the at the end where it speaks to rejecting the idea that educational equity is a zero-sum proposition in which some students lose opportunities to help other students succeed. And instead work to provide all students with a world-class education. Because that belief is so common. It's like people just believe that if I give this up, I'm gonna lose this if they get that. And that statement in itself needs to be debunked, and people need to understand that that's not really what happens. So I think that statement is really powerful for teachers to hear, for students to hear, but I think that these are great efforts.
Are there any parts that you think should definitely stay in or definitely be taken out?
I think that they reject the idea that education equity should definitely stand. That is an extremely important and powerful statement. So I agree with Rebecca on that. That was
Yes.
wonderful.
Yes, Davis.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of throw in on that one too. To me, I mean, I think that this is, as a resolution, which again is essentially a statement of purpose, right? Other than that statement, under those two statements really, under the be it further resolved, I think that most of what else I'm seeing here in the text is already exists in some combination of, policy, declaration, and prior resolutions. So I don't see anything in here prior to that. I think that I don't have any problem restating it, but I think that coalescing around a shared mental model of equity-driven education, where again it's not a zero-sum game. It's looking at needs in a broad sense, considering all these factors, and making sure that we're serving all the students to the best that we possibly can. I think that is incredibly powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was a really good statement. And I agree with everything that you said. I am impressed that hearing you read it sounds long, but it's 2 pages. And it's very concise about directly stating support for educators and what they do, and highlights in a different way a lot of what this district and SU has been striving for the last almost a decade. And addressing those goals that we have been working on, and the SU and the administrators working on, directly to educators. And so I think that cadence and that striving, stating it, sprinkling it throughout this is a powerful. I can't really point to anything. I'd have to read it a few times that would I would say, no, let's take that out.
Hudson?
I'm gonna echo whatever Becky else said.
Okay. Nancy?
I like it. I think it's powerful.
All of it? Is there
All of
anything
it.
that you think should be taken out?
No, not at all. What could possibly be taken out?
Megan?
I like it, and I understand what Davis is saying, that it kind of restates some things from other documents, but I think there is power to having everything in one place too.
I'd have to say, whoever crafted this has some amazing linguistic and writing skills.
And I did not craft this. I just took a bunch of I whittled down what was like a 6-page long document, and I removed a ton. And I also took a couple pieces from resolution from the United States Parent-Teacher Association template resolution in the same vein.
Yeah, I recognize that.
Can you tell me whose hand went up first?
Well, Misty's did, but it's down. I don't know if she's.
Okay,
Anne.
Anne Griffin, I see your hand.
I think that my comment might be irrelevant, because I think what you're talking about, like publishing this as a resolution and a goal, and I like it. The reason my hand went up was when we were talking about those two line, or that part about, oh, I tried to write it down, but I can't write that fast. About like equity and what was the part about
It not being a zero-sum game?
Correct, yes. And just the very first thing that popped in my mind that may be irrelevant to this conversation, but I think is super relevant, is when I heard that, the first thing I thought of was how I have a third grader who is has frequently this year been upset because she says she can't get any help. And she loves all of her teachers, and she's quick to be like, oh, they're great. But what I see is a staff shortage that then makes it so there are a number of students needing extra and needing whatever they need, which they deserve. And I want them to have that, but we need enough staff so that my child, who just needs the teacher to be able to help her with a few problems here and there, but instead she gets, well, just try reading it again, because they're very overwhelmed by all the other students that need more. So she actually, it's not a zero sum. She is losing out and has throughout the year.
Thank you for that, Anne. Misty?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
That was really wordy, and it was really hard for me to get all of the information as it was coming. It was just a lot. And there was some good things in there, but there was some things that my daughter had a really, really horrible experience. And she no longer wants to go to Windsor and has asked my family to move this year. And supporting your teachers is great because you have some really, really great teachers there. But you cannot just let teachers do whatever they want, because they are hurting kids in that school. And you think equity, but you're not being inclusive to all students. You're hurting students. And it's really too bad that my daughter wants to leave this school, because I love my community, but she comes first. And you really need to do a much digger dive into what's happening in your school, because it's not good. My second grader is coming home crying. My second grader. I've been a mom for almost 20 years. I've never had young children of my two older come home crying about how much they dislike their school. All of your priorities are in the wrong place. You're missing out on some major things happening. And if you don't fix it, you're only hurting the kids. And it's just not right. And I support most of our teachers, but you can't just let teachers do whatever they want in that school. It's not good. And I swore I wasn't going to cry here, but it's just been hard watching my daughter go through what she went through this year. And you really should take some time to look at what's happening because it's not a good place right now. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Misty, for sharing that with us. Yes, Valerie? Valerie Sable, I don't know if that's the way to correctly pronounce your surname, but I see your hand.
Hi, yeah. Hi, I have two children that go to Windsor as well. Sorry, I work and go to school and I'm a mom, so I'm just gonna mimic what Misty has said. I have a daughter who's in first grade and a son who's in third grade, and both of them have come home crying. My son, who has autism, has shown his feelings through picture. Sergio has seen a picture that he has drawn. I know quite well about behaviors that go on in this classroom that aren't just typical third grade behaviors. They're very destructive. They're very dangerous. And I wasn't aware of these behaviors happening until the end of the year. I'm actually quite upset that I wasn't informed so I could even damage control at home. Again, my daughter, my first grader, has come home so upset that she said that she didn't want to be alive because she didn't want to have to go to school in the morning. And those are heavy words coming from a 7-year-old. And I just think, again, we should look at what is happening in the classroom. I know that her teacher has been absent a lot. I think there just needs to be a rework. There needs to be something. We need to give these kids more. We talked about, substance abuse, counselor coming in. That's great. But what about our elementary school kids? What about them that if we don't get this under control now at this age, they're going to possibly have substance issues getting older because they're not getting taken care of at this young age. So that's all I have to say. Again, my kids want to move. They don't want to go to school here, but what are the options? What are our options when living in Windsor?
Thank you very much, Valerie. Yes, Anne.
Thank you. So I don't know, after Misty and Valerie, I'm thinking the document you're talking about is for supporting teachers, right? And supporting the staff to be able to make what that document says a reality. So, in the spirit of that, I love that. And I think maybe what the three of us have kind of shared with experiences that the children are having, that is something that needs to get focused on is supporting the staff. But I know that Misty also, and I don't know that I disagree that maybe a little more overwatch of really what happened in there with some of them is a good idea too. But yes, supporting the staff so that they can do better. And I don't know, I'm not an expert, but I think we need way more staff. From the experiences that my children have, it just seems like there's not enough. And, God bless them, they can only do what they can do. with the number that they have. So that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Okay. Does anybody else have any comments about the document that's, yeah?
Oh, I just had a question to, when you were talking about hiring, you didn't mention any of the paras. Have you?
Nancy?
Oh.
We need to keep on where
That's
we
right.
are right now.
Okay.
And because we're actually right in the middle of this discussion, and then we'll,
Okay,
okay,
you're right. Sorry.
sorry. I apologize for interrupting you. So is everybody all right with the length?
Yes.
Does anybody see any areas that should be whittled down?
I would enjoy having a chance to read through it several more times.
Okay. Okay. Then we will, I'll take a motion to consider approving this resolution at our July meeting.
So,
Second. Okay, all those in favor of moving this to our July meeting for decision, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. Now I'll take a motion for us to exit the public portion of the meeting and enter executive session.
So moved. Do we need?
Oh, yes, thank you. Reason is, where is it?
Item 8.
Okay, we will exit the public portion of the meeting and enter executive session because we are going to be, and it's on the agenda, meeting with a teacher, meeting with principals regarding school safety and doing some training. So I will take a motion to end the public portion of the meeting.
So
first. Okay.
Second.
All those in favor of ending the public portion of the meeting, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All right, I will stop the recording.
Thank you.
Yep.